Training camp has officially begun. I was on the scene. I have my biggest reaction, and it might not be an overreaction. It would be some really damn good news for the Houston Texans and their fans. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610, which took place live at the 50-yard line of the practice field of training camp today out there at NRG. Texans training camp has begun. The live stream is going to be going nightly at 9 o'clock. The videos with news and stuff like that is going to go throughout the day. So be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, be sure to ride along because this is the top source of Texans content and daily digital content. If you missed the interview with Jimmie Ward, Jimmie Ward joined the show. We'll hear a little bit of that here, but I strongly recommend checking out that on the Odyssey app and on Sports Radio 610. Jimmie Ward was fantastic. Had to use the dump button once, dropped an F-bomb. But I think Jimmie Ward is going to be a big asset for this Texans team. And that's kind of where I want to start here. My biggest reaction, and I don't think it's an overreaction. There's gonna be a lot of overreactions throughout training camp, which, by the way, I love. Like, fill my timeline with all the play-by-play of training camp and pictures and stuff like that. I'm not above it. I love it. Football season completes me. It's my favorite thing. I can't get enough of it. And if you're here, you probably cannot either. But my biggest reaction as I'm looking at everything going on, and I'm trying to get a grasp of, the new players, what's going on, who's active, who's inactive, and all that. My biggest reaction, I look over my shoulder and I'm looking at the second practice field, the one closest, actually technically the third, but the one closest to NRG Stadium, and the DBs are working out. And you have Jonathan Joseph working out with Derek Stingley. You have Jalen Pitre and Jimmie Ward sitting by each other. You have Steven Nelson, Shaq Griffin, Desmond King working out. And I look at the secondary and I say, you know what? This might be a damn good secondary this year. This might be a really, not just okay, this might be an elite-ish secondary this year when you look at what they got to work with and the ceiling in which a couple of these guys have. It might be the perfect mix of a secondary. And I actually thought they did a good job last year of addressing the secondary. I think Jimmie Ward kind of adds to that, as well as the upside of Derek Stingley and Jalen Pitre along with the system. But I could very much see this being a really, really, really good secondary, specifically Derek Stingley. Jonathan Joseph did not leave Derek Stingley's side. Jonathan Joseph just added to the staff a couple of days ago. Jonathan Joseph, one of the best Texans to ever do it, he did not leave Derek Stingley's side. And there was a lot of one-on-one work with those two. And after every rep, Jonathan Joseph, you could just tell he was kind of gravitating towards him. Jimmie Ward didn't stop talking. He was making plays. Jalen Pitre was out there doing his thing. And Steven Nelson, Shaq Griffin, Desmond King, that being your two down on cornerback depth, that's not bad at all. And I'm not even mentioning Tavier Thomas, who's one of the best slot guys in the league. Pretty much every single measurement says that. This is going to be a damn good secondary. And I got to speak to Jimmie Ward. He joined the show. And I asked Jimmie Ward about his experience, because I think this is another valuable asset for this secondary, because Jimmie Ward is a guy who was a first-round pick. He played for two one-and-done coaches in Chip Kelly and Tom Sula. He was a part of the Kyle Shanahan, quote, rebuild. He was actually with Jim Harbaugh before that when that came tumbling down. So Jimmie Ward has been through a hell of a lot. And I thought it was really interesting hearing DeMeco Ryans speak about Jimmie Ward and talking about, how obsessed Jimmie Ward is with being a safety. We'll hear why he's so obsessed with being a safety. But before that, here is Jimmie Ward talking about all the stuff he'd been through and what was the toughest thing that he went through while he was in San Francisco. This was Jimmie Ward with myself and John Lopez today at Texans training camp.
Oh, man. The hardest things that I kept doing is like not only like some of the injuries that I go through, it was injuries, different defenses. And once I get up to the top, starting balling, it's like, okay, all right, I'm finna go off, change your position.
Yeah.
So I got to move a different way.
Is that why safety is such an important thing to you?
Well, it's natural for me. It's sweet. Like I got turned into a corner when I got
right.
Because I was playing nickel, and then I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go to safety. And somehow I won a corner job. What the hell? How did I beat out all these other guys that have been playing corner for their whole life? Like I don't know what the. Sorry.
Nah, you're good.
Like, like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing out here.
Yeah.
But I took the coaching and I went out there and did my best. I made some plays. I actually got to pick at a corner. I got to pick at every position, but it wasn't elite though. It was good, but it wasn't elite.
Strong recommendation to check out the Jimmie Ward interview. He actually had some things to say as well about his teammates, Derek Stingley and Jalen Pitre. Here's what he had to say about Derek Stingley, and you can just tell he kind of lights up. He's a big fan of Derek Stingley. Here's Jimmie Ward, one of the leaders of this squad. Tangible. I told him this. It's tangible culture, guys, with Jimmie Ward. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Rex Burkhead, who you don't want on your football team, but he's a great guy. It's not Justin Britt stinking it up, but being able to lead a huddle and talk a lot. It's not Nick Martin, the Bill O'Brien stuff, loving up on him. It's a guy who can still play, and they got plenty of those. And Derek Stingley, you hope that he can play. Jimmie Ward believes he can.
I didn't know Stingley was as big as he was.
He's gotten bigger. He's gotten bigger.
I seen him move, and when he moved, I was like, oh, okay, he's probably like what, 5'10", 5'11", okay, probably like 195, 190. That dude was like 6'1", 6 feet, about 205, 210. But I was like, LSU, Patrick Peterson. Okay,
what do you expect?
Claiborne, all those wide receivers. Start cornerbacks. I was like, they got big guys that move like they're 5'9". So it's just his skill set too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Here's him on Jalen Pitre, the guy who everybody considers underrated, and a guy who had some really, really interesting thing to say as well, which we'll get into in a second. But here is Jimmie Ward talking about Jalen Pitre.
His feet is so quick, and then his ball skills nice, and then it's like his demeanor.
Yeah.
Like you ever just look at him and stare, like he just got this mean look. I like him as a football player. Like,
he got this mean look.
He got this death stare. And but that's the type of guy you need. I was like, I love playing next to him. Like just his whole attitude, just what he brings to the game.
I also think one of the more underrated guys in this secondary is Desmond King. I don't think Desmond King gets enough credit. Now, where does Steven Nelson fit into all this? We've talked about Jimmie Ward. We've talked about Jalen Pitre. We've talked about Derek Stingley. Where does, he fit into all of this? Where does Steven Nelson fit into all of this? Nick Caserio spoke on that. And Nick Caserio, we all remember when our guy, Steven Nelson, Grime Time, commented on Nick Caserio's vest. There were some people that were like, oh, I don't know if he meant anything by that. Nick Caserio knew that he meant something, and Nick Caserio had a little bit of a joke about Steven Nelson.
Yeah, everybody's reported. Everybody's here. Everybody's ready to go in practice. So, not really going to comment on the discussions that we've had. We've had constructive dialogue with Steven. Respect Steven. I know he doesn't like my wardrobe selection, but I mean, that's okay. So, but Steven's here. He's ready to go. So we'll see how it goes here in training camp.
Yeah, he does not. But DeMeco Ryans likes what Steven Nelson brings to the table. Here was DeMeco Ryans talking about Steven Nelson.
Yeah, it's great to have Steve here. Steve is Steve was here for us in our mini camp. It's great to have him here. Great presence. He came in. He's a worker. So I'm excited to work with Steven. I think he's going to be a really important piece to what we're doing. So thankful to have him here.
Telling y'all, I'm excited about this squad, and I'm really excited about what Jalen Pitre said, because Jalen Pitre gets it. I've said this 100 times. Coaches in the millennial age range, and now whatever the after millennial thing is, forgive me for that, Gen Z, Gen X, whatever it is. I love this group too. We play Madden, and Madden makes you better when it comes to clock management. Jalen Pitre took it a step further. Our guy, Brandon Scott, he asked about the impact Madden has on Jalen Pitre's game, and Jalen Pitre had the quote of the day. Here's Jalen Pitre talking about what Madden means to him as a ball player.
Yeah, Madden helped me a lot because, believe it or not, a lot of the route concepts, really all of the route concepts that these NFL teams are running is on the game. So when you're playing around and you picking these plays, like these are plays that these offensive coordinators are picking. Obviously, their knowledge of the game is a lot further than us, but these are the same plays. So if you continue to see that, you continue to put that in your mind, then when you get out onto the field and you start seeing it, it's going to just start to click and click. So I think it's just a good rep for you to just get on Madden and just look at stuff, because it's obviously fun too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Quote of the day right there from Jalen Pitre. Everybody knows we got to quit. We got to quit denying it. He is absolutely right. And I think this secondary is going to be great. I think it's going to be one of the best ones that they've had. There's a lot of investment in there, right? You have a first-round pick in Derek Stingley. You have a second-round pick in Jalen Pitre. You have a new system, a coach who's able to get a lot out of people, and you have a perfect complementary safety, starting safety guy who can do a lot of things in Jimmie Ward. You have Steven Nelson, who I know we've had some fun with him. He is a quality corner in the league. You have Des King, and you have an elite slot guy in Tavierre Thomas, and you got some other guys that are worth looking at. It's going to be an excellent secondary. I think it's going to be one of the strengths of this squad. What say you? Subscribe, like, ride along. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Training camp is upon us. Fun times, man. We're finally here. We're pushing that million view milestone in the 5K view. So keep it coming. Keep coming through. Keep commenting. Keep criticizing. Keep cussing. Keep discussing. And keep remembering that when it comes to this Texan stuff, we are all in this together. Happy football season. It's effing here.
We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways.